Good morning. So, this is Forrest here. Today I want to talk to you about making an herbal infusion. I'm in an herbalism class right now, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to sort of incorporate some of what I'm learning outside of class and also give you a really awesome ritual that you can incorporate that's really grounding, instead of just making a cup of tea or whatever you do now. Maybe you have coffee, maybe you have hot chocolate. Especially as the cooler months are coming, it's really nice to have a hot drink that's not only tasty, but it's really nourishing. And that's what an herbal infusion is. So I figured I'd show you how to make one. So I guess I want to talk about what is an herbal infusion, what is tea versus an infusion, what's the difference, and kind of where you can buy the herbs for it or you can grow them. So yeah, the first thing I want to say though is that I would recommend that you consult with a doctor before consuming any of these herbs, just to talk to them about contraindications. Of course, it's your choice. If you feel comfortable consuming the herbs and you don't take any medications and you don't have any pre-existing health conditions, should be totally fine. But let's say you have a pre-existing health condition and you're taking medication, you might be worried about the effects that the herb have kind of messing with the medication you're taking. I would definitely recommend maybe approaching with a little more caution. And yeah, it's interesting to note that the reason there are contraindications with herbs and medications is herbs are super effective at what they do. And so, for example, if you're taking a blood pressure medication and it's supposed to lower your blood pressure and you're taking an herb such as hawthorn, which is really good for the heart and really good for lowering blood pressure, it might lower your blood pressure so much because the hawthorn mixed with the medication you're currently taking. So that's why you always want to work with an herbalist or work with your doctor at the same time to make sure that, like, if you're taking herbs that do the same function as the medication you're taking, that someone's keeping track of what's going on, because it might actually work so well that you can lower on the medication a bit. So yeah, fun fact. So basically a tea is you take herbs, whether they're fresh or dried, and you put them into a cup, whether it's in a tea bag. You have loose leaf herbs where you take them and you just put the loose leaf in there, or you put them in a little strainer here, like you could scoop it in here and then you leave it in there. Or there's like a little pouch you can use. You put your loose leaf herbs in it. But basically a tea, you take the fresh or dry herbs, you put it with hot water, and I also recommend you cover the top. I don't know, I feel like that's something that I just learned recently, that, you know, if you have a cup of tea and you put your herbs in and it's steaming, a lot of the nutrient that's in the herbs will actually leave in the steam. So if you cover the top, it'll retain more nutrients than if you leave it wide open and it's just leaving. The difference between a tea and an infusion is that a tea is steeped for a much shorter period of time. So you leave the herbs in, let's say you cover it, and you steep it for 5 to 20 minutes. Whereas with an herbal infusion, you put the herbs in, oftentimes it's more, like this is an infusion I had sitting overnight to show you later. There's more liquid typically because you could save it and drink it over a few days, and it's much more potent because the herbs have been sitting in the hot water for a longer period of time to infuse it with more constituents that are in the plant. So basically for the herbal infusion, you put, it's the same for a tea. It's 1 tablespoon of dry herb per cup of water. So 1 tablespoon of dry herb per cup of water. And that goes for a tea or an herbal infusion. The only difference here would be is if you're using fresh plant. Fresh plants have more water content in their leaves, so you'll actually need more fresh plant to water ratio versus dry plant, where a lot of I'll just take some of this out. So whereas these are kind of chopped up leaves, if you can see it. But it's very concentrated. All of that plant nutrient and constituents that are beneficial for our bodies are really refined because they dried, and it's much less material, but it's more concentrated. Yeah, so you need less of it. So that's why if you're using fresh herb, I'm just going to use dry herb today, but if you were using fresh herb in your tea or your infusion, you would use 2 to 3 tablespoons of fresh herb per cup of water instead of 1 tablespoon of dry herb per cup of water. Same for tea, same for infusion. So yeah. So now I'm going to show you how to make an infusion. I'm going to take this mason jar here. It's a 32 ounce mason jar, and it is about 3 cups. Well, actually, I'm going to say it's about 4 cups because I'm just going to fill it up higher than the 3 cup mark here. And so you don't have to be, I'm not precise when I'm measuring. You can take approximately a tablespoon, but it's totally up to you. You can also measure exactly. The herbalist I'm learning from, Brittany Wood Nickerson, she runs Thyme Herbal. And all of the information I'm sharing here, I'm getting from the course I'm taking with her. She has courses. She has personal consultations as well. So if you were interested in learning about incorporating herbs more in your life, or you have a specific concern, I would definitely recommend meeting with her. I've never done it, but she's been wonderful. Or you could take one of her courses. She has books and things. It's really cool. So I'll link all that information below the video as well if you're interested in learning more, as well as a link to a place called Mountain Rose Herbs where you can buy herbs online. I'd always recommend purchasing your herbs from a local farm if you can find one near you. You could search up like locally grown herbs near me. A lot of times there are places that you can find. Often I buy my herbs at River Valley Co-op in Northampton, Mass, or East Hampton. I assume since we're at Greenfield Community College, you're probably not too far from these areas. I'm not sure if there's a River Valley Co-op near you. You could buy teas at the grocery store, already in bags, but I'd recommend trying to get loose leaf herbs. It's nice to connect with the plants in that way. And you can also you can do whatever's accessible to you, really. So I'm gonna say 4 cups here. So I'm gonna take 4 tablespoons of the herb, approximately. Just gonna pinch it. As I spill it. All right. Okay. Oh, and another thing too is you could also grow your own herbs, and you can dry them. You can learn more about that too, about how to dry them, and which is the best way, I think. And that's also what my teacher says too. It's totally different to grow your own herbs and to connect with the plant and really get to know the plant, and then make teas and tinctures and all sorts of things from it. So basically, yeah, I got my herb here, and now I have some hot tea. Hot water. I've been trying to keep warm here, so hopefully it's still. You want to use piping hot water, and I'm just gonna put this on a pot holder, and you pour it right over it. Right to the top. Now I'm going to cover this, screw it on tight. Careful when you grab it, it might be really hot. Yep, and so basically you would just do this and leave it for 4 hours to overnight. So typically I would do this, I'm probably going to leave it just for 4 hours or a little bit longer today. But typically you would leave this, I would do this at night, before bed, let's say 8 or 9 o'clock, and then in the morning I would strain it and it would be done. It would be much darker in color like this. If you see the difference in color, I just put this in. So this is before, after. Much darker. So then this is how you finish it. You'll just strain it. We're wow, this took me longer than I thought. All right. Basically, I'm just going to give you a quick synopsis. This herb that I used is peppermint. Peppermint is really great for the stomach. It's really great for headaches. So you're just going to strain it like this. Oh, and maybe you'll do it over a sink or something. I'm spilling it on the table. But yeah, you want to get all that herb out. Squeeze it. But yeah, peppermint's a really gentle herb, and it's a great herb to start with. You know, it's really well known, and you have mints. It's in your toothpaste a lot of time. It's really mild and generally doesn't have many contraindications that I know of. So yeah, I'd recommend starting with peppermint if you're curious. It's a really mild and really tasty flavor, and it's really great. So basically what you would do is you're done with this. It stores for about 24 to 48 hours on a countertop, but I'd recommend refrigerating it, and it'll last about 4 to 5 days, depending on, doesn't matter really what herb you use. And so then to heat it up, you would just pour a bit into your cup, and you would boil hot water, and you would just add the hot water to the concentrated herbal infusion. And there you go, you have a hot tea. You can add honey or anything you want. So yeah, I really hope that you're able to incorporate this ritual into your life, especially as it's, wow, time. I thought this would take me much less time. Yeah, so it's really great sharing this with you, and I hope that you can incorporate some of this into your life.